Eric Mallard, well, welcome to the Legends of Motorsport, my oh my, and how much you have deserved this opportunity. And Eric, we welcome you here today with pride to Legends of Motorsport. There's very few administrators in our time in motorsport that have had the length of service that you have. I'm going to go back to 1954, where you were a spectator at Ardmore, the famous Ardmore circuit. In 1955, you'd moved on to become an official there. What were your duties at the circuit in 1955, Eric?
I was a volunteer, like with hundreds of volunteers, and I seemed to get allocated into what we call the spectator marshal division. Bearing in mind, Ardmore had no fences around it.
Yes.
You know, it's the airfield, so it's just like it is today out there, and it's there's no ARMCO, and the actual demarcation line was binder twine on sticks and all the rest, where the spectators could come up to, type of thing, and
yes.
And they were a fair way back from the circuit, but they wouldn't have stopped many cars. But
I wouldn't have thought so.
No, and so that was it. And I progressed on from there, and I rose up through the ranks, because it took a lot of people, much more than it does today, and probably learnt the ropes a bit. I didn't realise I was learning them on the way through.
Yes.
But there wasn't many race meetings either. Like if you didn't go to the Grand Prix at Ardmore, you really had to wait a year for a decent race, because it was after the war, and always a shortage of cars around, not many circuits around, a few motorbike races.
Yes.
But that was your lot, really.
Ardmore drew crowds of 80,000+ for a Saturday, then everybody went to Western Springs on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Who did the negotiations with the overseas drivers at the time?
Well, in the early days, we were just a little bit on Ardmore.
Yep.
And that was well put together, actually, as it turned out. It came about because one of the little bits of circuit they could get in those days, and it was Auckland Car Club, was Seagrove Aerodrome, which was a fighter sort of emergency station. Yep. A bit of seal on it, and they used to occasionally get this off the Defence Department and have a wee race meeting. There wasn't a lot of cars either, and anyhow, one year someone took it over. I think the university took it over, and so the car club got refused permission to use it, and so a lot of pressure got brought to bear here and there, and people who know various members of Parliament, and they said, look, you can't have it, and that's it. But we could give you Ardmore. Would that be any good? And that's how it happened. Ooh. Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah, would that be any good? So they grabbed that.
Yeah.
But then they thought, what do we do with this lot? And by the way, this is before my time, but that is the story behind it.
That's the first time, all my years in sport, that's the first time I've heard. So maybe I didn't do my homework, which is pretty much what happened at school. Enter Ron Frost. A very formidable character, UK born, came here to race his Coopers.
Yes, he did. And
he became perhaps the leading light, but beneath Ron, because he was 6 months here, 6 months back in the UK. But you and Ron had a very, very unique partnership.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Learned a lot of Ron. Very astute gentleman.
I'm sure he learned a lot of you too.
Oh, no, it's the other way around.
You think so?
And Ron came here in the early 50s. He had been a motorcycle racer before the war.
Yes.
And got captured at Dunkirk, because when they put him in the army, they said, what did you do, Sonny? And he said, I rode motorbikes. Oh, you're a dispatch rider.
Okay.
And unfortunately he got caught, and he did a lot of things when he was a prisoner of war also, including becoming the camp forger, because if you escaped, you really needed documents, and Frosty was able to steal these out of the camp office. And so that was a story there. I think he eventually escaped. And anyhow, he came to New Zealand. One part he was in business with Bernie Ecclestone.
Yes. And
he came to New Zealand in the early 50s, and as you say, he had his Coopers and whatnot. And he eventually got the Hillman Humber agency in Levin.
Yes.
And anyhow, he did that, and then he was instrumental in building the Levin track with Sid Jensen and one or two others. And so that was that. But anyhow, moving
moving on to about 1963 or so. So the Grand Prix had been going at Ardmore for a while, but it really needs someone to guide the place, and anyhow the then committee managed to inveigle him to come up here and run Pukekohe.
We were really fortunate here in New Zealand because we had the very best in those days, and the list is as long as our arm and back, of, let's call them Grand Prix drivers in those days, that came out here,
Yes.
minus egos in most cases. You must have met some really good characters amongst that.
Oh, yeah, wonderful people, and quite a lot of them. And of course, the people of those days quite often were what you'd call today the equivalents of world champions or Formula One drivers.
Correct, yeah.
They didn't call it Formula One.
No.
But you've got to remember the racing stopped from memory around about September or October, around about now. And they, there was nothing to do. Like in many countries, there was snow on the ground,
Yep.
and all iced up. And this was an opportunity to go to the sun.
Yep.
And come to a place like this, and later on Australia. And they also had the opportunity quite often of selling the car while they were here. So that was the nub of the thing, in that they could come here, and don't forget there was no aeroplanes, or no aeroplanes to put a car on.
No.
There was a few passenger ones, but and in fact, you had to allow about 6 weeks to get the car here. So
Yes.
you had to have the car, on the boat sort of early October at the latest. And that's the big. By the way, one of the big boosts was come 1956 when the Comet came online for the people, because it also took the people ages to get here too.
It was a big job.
That's right. The Comet came online, and it could be, I think, about 5 days or something like that. So that opened the thing up dramatically.
Your motorsport management, Eric, with respect, I prefer to call it motorsport management, because administration, you weren't an office boy, so to speak. You were the go-to guy. Wherever there were problems, people would look around. Where's Eric? Where's Eric? Where's Eric? Go and see Eric. It was the way it was. What was your full-time job while all this was going on? I never knew. I don't know.
Well, actually, I was in the fruit and produce business actually for a good 10 years or more.
Yeah.
Until I sold the business, and that's when Ron Frost came along and had heard about it. Because he had the really on the floor, and I said to him, "Why are you approaching me? There's all these other people around too," because there was too. And he said, "But I've been studying you for a long time." He said, "You organise this, you organise that, you put the program together, you write the supplementary regulations. With a bit more expertise, you'll be fully trained."
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So these are skills that were...
Just pick them up.
You picked them up.
So keen, enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's the job that has to be done by X o'clock on that day. I need to be there
whatever.
and work your way back.
Yeah, and passed a lot of these skills on to other people since, many of them.
So how many of you ran the office at the New Zealand, what was then the NZIGP?
Yeah,
Inc?
well,
Yep.
it was still NZIGP today, actually.
Yeah.
And there was actually about 4 of us. Frosty was overseas quite a bit.
Yep.
Of course, he had a business over there as well, and he was over there for about 4 or 5 months a year, and also arranged the drivers and things, and then he finished up, obviously, on the FIA as well.
Yep.
And then so there was about 4. There was Elsie Russell there for a long time.
I've got a long time Elsie was there. Yep.
And then, so about 4. And of course a host of very good volunteers backing us up too.
Yeah. In the mid-70s, you've seen some changes. By then you'd been in motorsport administration, management, go-to guy for over 20 years. You could see things starting to ramp up again.
Well, really, as I mentioned a little earlier, there was so much going on as and other tracks came on stream in New Zealand.
Yep.
Finally, because it was very little in the way of tracks really. I think the first one I suppose you could call would be Levin, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
And that would be about 1955-ish.
Yeah, Wigram.
Thereabouts. Yeah, Wigram was there. It was an airfield.
Yep.
Just like Ardmore.
Yep.
And but give you a good example. I mentioned things like club circuit and national meetings. See, and they were dotted around the country. So there was something, I won't say on every weekend, but through the summer quite a lot. For instance, there was 4 full-blown national meetings. Well, apart from the Grand Prix, they was pretty similar as such. There was, I can remember one season there was 14 Formula Ford races in a season. Dotted throughout the country.
Yeah.
And same with the various saloons and the all-comers and the big bangers and of course we used to sell it on that. So really, you weren't just doing one meeting a year anymore.
No.
You were doing a whole host of them.
So you travelled to a lot of other meetings apart from just the Auckland-based ones?
Well, I did all the international meetings, and in many of the tracks I became one of their senior officials.
Yes.
Yeah, and in a number of cases they used to ask me to be their clerk of course. Well, I was working in the sport all the time, and you had to keep up with the rules and that. And I won't mention any names, but there were some organisers, their rules were always running 3 years behind the times.
Okay.
And so they get along to race meeting and they'd get all sorts of strife with the stewards because the rules weren't up to date.
Yep.
And they'd get one of those letters, stiff letters on cardboard from Wellington,
Oh, yes.
asking for please explains. And they found it was easy to have Eric there sort of nursemaiding the thing for them or guiding their people.
I've been racing for over 30 years and without the help of the Motorsport volunteers, we just couldn't do what we do. So check out the action and fun you can have behind the scenes and get involved.
Are you looking for that special property where you can house your cars in decent shedding, or maybe have that man cave? If you're looking for an apartment here at Hampton Downs or to sell one, give me a call at Ray White Tuakau. My name and number's here on the door of the car.
Takapuna Panel Beaters, family owned and operated for over 14 years, licensed for all insurance work. Marty Michelle and the team can handle anything from small dings to large repairs and specialise in structural damage. Takapuna Panel Beaters, Hillside Road, Glenfield. Sandbrook Windscreens, New Zealand's leading supplier of boat windscreens, heated classic race and rally car windscreens. Your one-stop shop for all glass and polyglass windscreens, rear screens and side windows. Sandbrook Windscreens, a clear shot above the rest.
You were famous for your whistle, for getting things organised. It was people could stand there and yell and shout to their heart's content and get nowhere, but Eric's whistle, everybody listened.
Yep. Yes, it did. I used to get take the mickey taken out of me on it, but it was very useful because motor race meetings are very noisy places.
Of course, yeah.
And they standing there. I've seen people stand there, and all you can see is their mouth opening and closing, and nothing coming out. But you let out.
It still happens today, you know.
Let out a blast with the whistle, and all action goes.
Worked.
Or the drivers know it's time to go, boys. We're on the way.
We're going to talk about accolades. You received everything from a slap on the back to handshakes to a beer of wine at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I'm going to come to the New Zealand Order of Merit and the Motorsport Award of Merit.
Yeah.
Personally, magnificent achievements. How did you feel about that? I mean, I know you would have been excited, but how did Eric feel?
One's getting these awards, everything from the Queen's Award, etc., and obviously people had got to. I found out later, and I still don't know who they are today, but I could take a fair few guesses at about 20 of them.
Yeah,
and they all seemed to know all about it because when the Queen's Award came through, the phone at home was ringing at 6 o'clock in the morning when they were announced, and I thought, well, hang on, how would they know about it? So obviously these were the people that have put it together.
You never raced yourself?
No. I've been asked the question quite a few times.
Yeah.
Always had the interest, And you've got to remember when I was a young fella, the war, well, in fact, I was still going to school when the war was on.
Yep.
And later on, the war was over. There was no motor racing and you couldn't buy a car.
No.
There wasn't much money around either. And my father had died at a rather, when I was only about 8 years of age. So that made life pretty hard on my old mum.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I had the interest. And in fact, the nearest I got to it was doing a little bit of crew work at Western Springs, where a lot of us have started one way and another.
Right.
Because you used to go there regularly. I used to get taken by my late dad there, and I wasn't very old, I can remember. And in those days, you caught the tram out the Speedway on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it is today, but absolutely brilliant. Couldn't get there quick enough. So that was a bit of the festa of it, but never had the chance to. And then one gets married, and the house comes first, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does. Very important.
So there you are. There's that story.
That's incredible.
I would have liked to have raced, but never did.
Never did it?
So nearest I get it in my family, I've got a few racing drivers and
You have.
mechanics and
Yes, you have.
officials and that. So
And very high profile ones.
yes, they are actually.
Yeah. Any regrets, Eric?
No regrets. That's the that's how it's turned out. You got to live life as it comes.
Yeah, you do. There's one guy that I know that you were very fond of, many guys you were very fond of, Laurie Powell,
Oh, Laurie,
starter
yes.
extraordinaire.
Yes. Again, he comes from Speedway, of course.
Yeah, an amazing guy.
Yes, he was. Bit of an old character and all the rest.
He was,
Yep.
but never got bowled over on the start line, but must have been close.
Don't talk to me about that.
I thought that.
The close shaves around when I used to have Les Rankin, the clerk, of course, is here standing on end.
Yeah,
Sometimes he'd be halfway across the track.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, if the car was on the left-hand side,
Yeah.
the further he moved, the further the car moved over, the further Laurie moved over.
Or if he was starting the race and you're not on your grid spot, you did like you did to Red Dawson once, he'd give him the old wave back.
Yep.
Yeah, on the thing, and as he puts it in reverse, he drops the flag, and they're all off, and Laurie's in the wrong gear.
Standout memories.
Oh,
There's got to be a few.
we haven't got enough time for that, surely.
Oh, I think we've got a little bit of time.
Oh, okay.
This is all about you.
Oh. Well, nothing too sensational.
No.
I've worked with some very good people, and I was talking only yesterday to one of my very good friends, who's an official for quite a while, is Colin Waite, whose sons, of course, are in the racing business, and
Yes.
wonderful people, and you can learn a lot of these, and they're all dedicated people too, and they're not getting paid either.
No.
It's all for the love of it.
It is. Well, without the volunteers, we didn't go racing, did we?
Well, no,
No.
we didn't. And I used to enjoy going around the other circuits, mainly looking after the main race, actually.
Yeah.
Because what sometimes happened when people might come out from England or Europe or something like that,
Yep.
they were always nervous. How was the organisers going, or the officials going to run the race or start the race, and things like that? And I had one well-known driver come up to me one day, and we're down, I think, Christchurch way, and he said, Eric, he said, how will they start the race? I said, well, the way we did it last weekend, which somewhere else, I don't know, might have been Levin or whatever.
Yeah.
I said, no, the format will be exactly the same. And that was the trouble.
Oh.
You could go to some circuits, and every week they'd have a different format. And of course, that used to confuse the overseas people no end. And and so we got over that. We came up with a format for the starts, things like the starts.
Yep.
So whatever you did one week, you did the next week.
Consistency.
If it said it was a half-hour practice session, it was a half-hour practice session at that slot.
Yep.
Things like that. And that sort of helped immensely. But
So-
you had to be there to make sure it got done.
Yes.
They say motor racing is dangerous, and but there wasn't the fencing, there wasn't the that sort of facilities and the rescue facilities we have today. Absolutely marvellous. Now, that sometimes it's hard to remember all the faces and all the rest. I tell you what, the ones that give you a bit of grief, you have no trouble remembering them. And particularly if when you're maybe doing the clerk of course role, and there's a charge against them or something like that, and they walk in the room, and you look up and you say, "But weren't you here this morning?" or something like.
And that's the steward's office. Yeah. But you set a level of professionalism, knowingly or unknowingly, as you grew up the ladder, so to speak, that people knew what to expect.
I mentioned briefly there the safety aspect.
Yeah.
Like when you think of it, unfortunately, people got injured and a few people got killed, unfortunately, or etc. And that's improved out of all. Like you look at the rescue service, look at the paramedics, at all the circuits. There's not only some of the medical people, but the paramedics are there. One part of an ambulance was like 2 stretchers and nothing else in the back of a car.
One last question, Eric. If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
Oh, I don't know. No, can't really answer that.
Well, I think obviously you chose the right career.
I suppose so. Anyhow, I've never regretted it. Anyhow,
that's fantastic. Eric, thank you so much for being on the show. And I know I can speak on behalf of thousands of drivers, officials, fans, people in the motorsport community, people outside the motorsport community that have benefited from your wisdom, your support, your wonderful sense of humour. It has been an absolute privilege to have you as a legend of motorsport on our show. Thank you so much, and we wish you very well in your retirement. Thank you.
I've been racing for over 30 years, and without the help of the motorsport volunteers, we just couldn't do what we do. So check out the action and fun you can have behind the scenes and get involved.
Are you looking for that special property where you can house your cars and decent shedding, or maybe have that man cave? If you're looking for an apartment here at Hampton Downs or to sell one, give me a call at Ray White Tuakau. My name and number's here on the door of the car.
Takapuna Panel Beaters, family owned and operated for over 14 years, licensed for all insurance work. Marty Michelle and the team can handle anything from small dings to large repairs and specialise in structural damage. Takapuna Panel Beaters, Hillside Road, Glenfield. Sandbrook Windscreens, New Zealand's leading supplier of boat windscreens, heated classic race and rally car windscreens. Your one-stop shop for all glass and polyglass windscreens, rear screens and side windows. Sandbrook Windscreens, a clear shot above the rest.
In the early 70s, New Zealand adopted Formula 5000 for its premier motor racing class. The 5-litre Big Bangers would race in the Tasman Series, replacing the old 2.5-litre Grand Prix cars. In those early years, New Zealand had great success with Formula 5000, both internationally and at home, with homegrown drivers claiming many race wins and New Zealand's Bruce McLaren producing race-winning cars. By 1972, Kiwi Graham McRae was the king of Formula 5000, both in New Zealand and Australia, in his McLaren-built M10. The 1972 Tasman Series looked like it was going to be very competitive, so McRae decided he needed a new car. So he built one. This one. Well, not exactly this one, but this design, the McRae GM1. The design was simple but elegant. The classic Coke bottle shape appeared, and the car was light, strong and fast. In fact, Graham McRae put the first GM1 on pole in its first race. The speed of the GM1 continued with pole and a win in the second race of the Tasman Series. In fact, the car was so effective that McRae won that year's Tasman Series, making it 2 in a row. The success of Graham's first GM1 design opened a few eyes, and shortly afterwards, production began in a tiny little workshop in Poole, England, where Graham was now based. GM1s were now being driven by some of the leading exponents of the day, racing both in the European Formula 5000 Championship and, as it was called in America, Formula A. GM1s came third in the European Championship against the big manufacturers like Lola and Surtees. In the USA, McRae was on fire, winning many races and taking out the Formula A Championship for 1973. This car is chassis number 007, raced to win by McRae himself in New Zealand and also by Englishman Alan Rollinson. In fact, this car missed out on winning the 1973 NZI GP by under 1 second. All in all, 14 GM1s were built and Graham McRae drove 4 of them. A lot of those cars are still around, racing today in New Zealand's highly successful modern Formula 5000 Championship. And they're still proving to be very fast in the right hands. The McRae GM1, in Formula 5000 circles, a true legend.
Hello everybody, I'm John Tomlin and welcome to the Historic News Spot, brought to you by Sandbrooks Windscreens for classic cars, with heated and plastic windscreens for race and rally cars. Today we're going to talk about the Sino Truck New Zealand Trans Am Challenge. From 1996 to 2002, the New Zealand Premier Race Series was for Trans Am cars. A couple of seasons ago, a group of past competitors, including previous series champion Dennis Running, got together and formed a revival class for these extremely exciting cars. With support from Sino Truck New Zealand, the Trans Am Challenge will be on at tracks at the major North Island meetings this season. At this point, I'd like to welcome one of the driving forces behind the Sino Truck New Zealand Trans Am Challenge Series, Coordinator Bob Cullinane. Welcome to the show, Bob.
Thanks, JT. Good to be here.
Bob, Trans Ams. You once said to me that Trans Ams are Formula 5000s with clothes on.
I think they're very similar to that, yes.
Now, the cars themselves, just for the people out there, explain what they are, because they look like basically the production car, but they're not, are they?
No, they are not. They're most of them running 6-litre engines. The Dodge Viper, which we might touch on shortly, has got a Mopar engine. Mm-hmm. The Mustangs have got a Ford. The Jags have got a Cosworth V8. Beautiful, beautiful engines. And the Camaros and Corvettes have got the 350 Chevs in them.
But of course, they're all space frame chassis, aren't they?
All
with
space-framed, yes.
Effectively plastic bodies.
They are, and we're going by the Sports Car Club of America rules.
I know there are a lot of cars in New Zealand. I think you've currently got about 15 or 16 racing. Mm. There's more sitting in garages that I know you're trying to get out. How many are in New Zealand?
About 26.
20? That would be a hell of a field.
Be a good field. We've got them all out at once. That's right. Yes. But yeah, we're working on it. Okay.
Thanks, Bob, for coming in this week. It's been great having you here. Don't forget those 3 dates for the Sino Truck New Zealand Challenge. The next round is the 18th and 19th of January at the historic Grand Prix Bruce McLaren Motorsport Park. The next round is the 21st and 22nd of March at HRC Legends of Speed Hampton Downs. And the final round is at Bruce McLaren Motorsport Park on the 8th and 10th of May. I'm John Tomlin with the Sandbrooks Windscreens News Spot. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to you joining us next episode.